The night stretched endless across the horizon, swallowing every trace of light. A single boat drifted in the black water, rocking gently as though the sea itself was holding its breath. The silence was heavy, broken only by the low groan of wood and the faint hiss of waves brushing against the hull. The air was thick, pressing down like a weight, carrying with it a strange stillness that didn't belong to the ocean. Eyes darted toward the surface, scanning the water as if it held secrets just beyond reach. Something about the way it shifted felt wrong. Too smooth, too controlled. Then it came, the ripple. Small at first, sliding across the surface like a whisper. Another followed, then another. A pulse in the sea. The boat tilted slightly, answering the movement with a creak that cut the silence in half. A faint shape glided beneath the water, too fast to follow, too large to ignore. Shadows moved where no shadows should be, curling under the surface with impossible grace. Every muscle tensed. The heart pounded against the ribs like a drumbeat, waiting for the strike that never came. The water stilled again. Quiet, too quiet. Every breath seemed louder now, echoing in the stillness, feeding the fear that grew heavier with each passing second. Then, another ripple, this one sharper, closer. The water split for an instant, and a dark fin sliced through the surface. The sight froze the air, paralyzed the body. The fin cut in a perfect arc, then vanished again into the blackness. The sea had revealed its secret. Something vast, something alive, something watching. The silence returned, but it no longer felt like silence. It felt like waiting, the kind of waiting that comes before a storm, before the earth cracks, before something monstrous rises. The boat rocked again, harder this time. A thud echoed through the wood, followed by another. Something beneath had touched it, tested it. The air filled with unease. The night grew colder, darker, tighter. A shiver ran through the body, not from the wind but from the certainty that the water was no longer just water. And then, from the distance, the sound came. A low splash. Slow. Measured. A predator's rhythm. It circled once, twice, each pass drawing closer. The waves carried its movement like a message, pounding softly against the boat, warning that the game had only just begun. The ocean was alive, and it wanted to be heard. The circling grew relentless. Each swell of water pressed harder against the boat, rocking it with an unsteady rhythm that didn't belong to the sea. The silence of the night was gone, replaced by the slow churn of something vast moving below. The hull vibrated with a deep groan as if the wood itself could sense the danger. Fingers gripped the railing tightly, knuckles whitening, breaths sharp and shallow. Every sense screamed that the sea was no longer empty, that it was a hunting ground, and the boat was prey. The first strike came without warning. A violent jolt slammed against the underside, nearly lifting the boat from the water. Wood cracked, ropes snapped, and the sound thundered across the night like a warning bell. The sea foamed white where the impact struck, but the attacker remained hidden, buried in the darkness below. The boat spun slightly, pushed by the force, its bow turning toward the open void of the ocean. Panic welled, the instinct to run, to flee, but where? The horizon was endless black, no shore, no light, no salvation. Another strike, harder. The hull shuddered dangerously, and water sprayed up through the cracks where the boards strained against the pressure. The smell of salt filled the air, mixed now with the sharp tang of splintered wood. From the surface, shadows danced, circling closer, tightening the noose around the floating vessel. Every ripple was a reminder that something vast and merciless was playing its game, testing its prey, savoring the fear it spread. A sudden splash erupted beside the boat. A massive shape broke the surface for an instant, only a silhouette against the night sky, but long enough to see the outline of a body too large to comprehend. Water crashed back down, swallowing the image, leaving only the churning sea behind. The boat tilted dangerously, balance slipped, sending ropes sliding across the deck. The sound of rushing water filled the ears, constant, suffocating. Beneath the surface, the shape returned, darker than the ocean itself, circling faster now, each pass closer than the last. The sea seemed endless, yet it felt smaller, tighter, as though the predator had turned it into a cage. The waves rose higher, slamming against the hull, and with every surge came the unshakable thought, this wasn't an accident. It was strategy. Another impact roared against the wood. The boat lurched sideways, nearly capsizing, sending loose objects tumbling into the dark water. Each splash was swallowed instantly, lost to the unseen depth. The predator had made its choice. It was no longer circling, it was closing in. The night trembled with the promise of what was to come. The sea no longer whispered, it roared with hunger. The waiting was over. The next strike didn't just shake the boat. It shattered it. Wood splintered with a deafening crack, the sound ripping through the night like thunder. The deck lurched violently, throwing everything sideways as the boat tilted, half swallowed by the black waves. The water surged upward, rushing across the planks, cold and merciless. Then the sea erupted. From beneath the depths, it rose, vast, unholy, a shape no mind was meant to comprehend. The surface split apart as if the ocean itself had been torn open, and towering above the wreckage loomed a shadow that blotted out the moon. The head broke first, serpentine, ridged with scars, eyes glowing faintly like embers drowned in water. Its skin, slick and glistening, reflected the faint starlight, stretching endlessly down into the waves. A roar followed, not of voice but of pressure, a thunderous sound that rattled the chest and made the very air vibrate. The waves collapsed outward in every direction, smashing against the weakening hull. Pieces of wood tore free, dragged instantly into the abyss. The predator moved with slow, terrifying control, circling the wreck not with hunger, but with certainty. Its tail lashed. The water exploded, spraying high into the sky before crashing back like a rainstorm. The force spun the boat sideways, snapping the mast clean in two. The deck groaned under the stress, every board screaming as though begging for release. For one suspended moment, the world seemed to hold still. The creature hovered, massive body half submerged, head towering over the deck. Its gaze fixed downward, studying, dissecting, savoring. Then it struck. The jaws snapped shut with a sound like mountains colliding. Wood and rope vanished instantly, crushed as though they were nothing more than twigs. The boat was no longer a vessel, it was debris, scattering across the black surface, swallowed piece by piece. The ocean roared in chaos, but above it all, one truth remained. The sea belonged to this creature. Always had, always would. The boat had never stood a chance. The night was its stage, the hunt its ritual, and the ocean its eternal dominion. The climax was not survival. It was surrender. The ocean fell quiet. The waves, once violent and merciless, began to smooth themselves, as though nothing had happened. The foam dissolved into stillness, and the water swallowed every trace of wood, rope, and wreckage. Only ripples remained. The moon drifted overhead, pale and indifferent, its light spilling across the black sea. No screams, no wreck, no memory of the struggle. Just an endless horizon, calm as glass, pretending it had never been broken. Below, the depths stirred. Slow, ancient, the creature sank back into the abyss, its shadow fading into black, as if it had never been there at all. The ocean embraced it, keeping its secret, as it always had. The silence pressed harder than the chaos had. Because silence meant truth. The sea does not take. It keeps. And tonight, it had kept everything. The sea grew still. The violence that had ripped across the waves only moments before vanished into a silence so complete it felt unnatural. Foam dissolved into the dark, leaving nothing but a trembling mirror of black water stretching toward the horizon. The moon shone with cold detachment, its silver light sliding across the endless surface. It made the ocean look deceptively calm, as though no chaos had ever broken here. No cries, no fight, no terror, just stillness. Beneath that calm, shadows sank. Slow, heavy, timeless. The predator returned to the depths, gliding downward until it was swallowed by blackness. No ripple betrayed its passage. The sea, as it always had, concealed what it wished to conceal. What remained above was absence. No wreckage drifted to tell a story. No floating wood, no torn fabric, no survivors clinging to hope. Just water, vast and merciless. The silence was heavier than the screams had been. Because silence meant it was over. Silence meant there would be no witness. The sea does not erase. It buries. It remembers. It keeps. And tonight, under the cold eye of the moon, it kept everything. The horizon stretched wide, unbroken, as if mocking the human heart's need for answers. Somewhere far away, waves brushed against a forgotten shore. But here, in this place,